I was watching a movie recently or I was thinking of a movie recently that was made with Adam Sandler in it. And in that movie, he had a daughter, and Drew Barrymore was in it as well. And in that movie, he had daughters and Drew had sons, and they got together, and she taught his daughter how to be a girl, and he taught their sons how to be boys, things like that. Anyway, at one point in the movie, his girl, who was wearing sweatsuits and had a boyish haircut and was just very unattractive, was taken by Drew Barrymore, and she was made into this beautiful female. And all the guys had their heads turned and they all looked at her, and all of a sudden she was attractive to them. So the attention was focused on her and her looks. And now, when you're young and you're looking for someone, I understand that movie was, that's sometimes a feel-good scene. And you've seen stuff like that in other movies on transformations. I remember years ago watching Extreme Makeover, and that was before Extreme Makeover Home Edition. This is when they gave people all this plastic surgery. They'd find ugly people and fix their mouths and their eyes and their hairs and their cheeks and their teeth and everything. And these people would go from being some of the ugly people to some of the pretty people. Sorry for using those words, but that's basically the premise of the movie. But then I think about this idea of attractiveness and how we find the outer appearance as that which we draw attention to ourselves. And I know that we are not supposed to necessarily want people to look at us. But as I've aged, I've said, Lord, help them not to see me, but to see you. I will lecture at church and say, help them not to see me or hear me, but hear you. When I would sing and cantor, I'd say, let them hear you and not me. Of course, there was still ego in there, and you're always thinking, oh, I do a good job. And it's nice when people come up to you and say, oh my gosh, you read really well, or you sing really well, or you look pretty. But I was reading, and I've known this again, but I wanted to do this video as a reminder because I think you've known this as well. And I was recently reading First Peter, and in chapter 3, it said, well, actually it came right under the likewise, wives, be subordinate to your husbands, so that even if some disobey the word, they may be won over with a word by wives' conduct. I'm actually going to do a video about that, but this isn't the time. Verse 2 says, or verse 3, let me just go to verse 3. It says, your adornment should not be an external one, braiding the hair, wearing gold jewelry, or dressing in fine clothes, but rather the hidden character of the heart, expressed in the imperishable beauty of a gentle and calm disposition, which is precious in the sight of God. For this is how the holy women who hoped in God once used to adorn themselves and were subordinate to their husbands. So I'm looking at this. It is saying adorning yourself with the kind of beauty that comes from within. Do we do that? As I've aged, I'm 59, I'll be hitting 60 this year, and definitely past my so-called pretty years. And I am at this point where things are just fading. Outer beauty, the hair is coming out, the face is sagging, the wrinkles are appearing, and all that stuff. Now, if I was clinging to my beauty, that would devastate me. That would make me, I see why the plastic surgery industry is so, well, it's just so wealthy, because there's so many of us hoping to reclaim our youth and beauty. But I think about this one young lady. I used to go into my credit union, and there was a teller whose face looked very, very, very disfigured. It looked partially like a burn victim. All the eyes are diseven and all this holes and patches in the skin, and just the face twisted and the mouth not shaped. She just really looked like something bad happened to her. Well, me being who I am, struck up a conversation and asked her, what had happened to her face. Somehow it came out, and she said she was born that way. And in the conversation, because again, I am who I am, and we're talking about relationships, she said, my mother always prayed that no matter how I looked, that I would find a husband. And she said, the man that marries you will be a very, very special man indeed. And she was, in fact, married. She said, my mom's prayer worked. I have an amazing husband. And no matter how my face looks, he just loves me. That was about 20 years ago. And I have thought about that young lady many times. It was horribly disfigured. And the typical male, not that males are, anyway, males, females, right? The typical person would not get past the unattractive face in trying to build a relationship with her. But this man somehow saw her internal adornment, her beauty, she was so easy to talk to. She was so confident. I mean, the fact that we had this conversation, the fact that she was a teller, that's a front office job where many people who have been disfigured want to hide and they don't want people to look at their disfigurement. I've since thought about that and I thought, am I beautiful like that? If I didn't have a somewhat normal face who in my past years wasn't, totally uncomely, if I didn't have that, would I have been attractive? Would they have seen Christ in me? Would they have seen a disposition, as it says in Peter, that is calm and beautiful and compassionate? Would they have seen that attractive personality? Or would they have seen someone who was ugly or had an attitude or maybe, I don't know, what do we all deal with? Overconfidence or lack of confidence or lack of self-esteem or too much self-esteem. So where are you in this conversation? Do others, regardless of your external beauty, you might be the most beautiful person that, in your family or in your neighborhood or in your social group, but do people see your inner beauty? Or are you that person who struggles with weight, who struggles with making, yourself feel anything more than plain? Are you that person who's sadly losing hair? I had a female friend who was balding. She is a female. Many, many years ago, she was balding as a 20-year-old. But she was loved. She was a good woman. We loved her personality. She was friendly and bubbly, smiled, gifted, talented. Do people see your beauty? Do you let it shine? Look, I had some people say, don't wear makeup. I had one priest that said, go a month without makeup for Lent. I was like, I know some of you might struggle with that. But do you work on, in addition to your exterior beauty? I'm curious, what is your internal beauty? What have you adorned inside? How have you improved your attitude? How have you improved your demeanor? Are you a person who listens well or not? Or do you talk too much? Are you a person who puts others before yourself? Or do you not think about it until, ooh, I took the biggest piece of cake. I probably should have given that to somebody else. Our first Pope Peter wrote it well in here, and he told us how to be beautiful. Our outer beauty will, in fact, fade, but your inner beauty has an opportunity to grow and be blaring and bright and be so attractive that all will see it. And they will all want to be close to you because your attractiveness will not be you that they are seeing, but Christ in you. Nurture that. Post here how you plan to do so, or have done so, or have, like me, been changed. Like me, try to focus less on your appearance and more on your internal beauty. It's not so easy to do in this beauty obsessed society, but it can be done. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching this Bacon Bit. And I'd like to remind you, as always, to live your life sunny side up.